Hey everyone, today we're covering Maxx, and people did joke saying that the Armory deck is actually a Maxx Armory deck in disguise. There is some merit to that. A lot of these new cards actually do work pretty well with the aggro combo potential of Maxx, specifically the game plan of early game boosting into late game Mechanoid. Working with Maxx's ability, our main game plan is 3 token hyperdrivers on the field, and then going into the construct Mechanoid in the middle of our game, and then finishing it out with the Mechanoid. Basically, assembling Voltron and then just blasting your opponent because you now have the best weapon / armor in the game. And so to enable that, we have our cards like Big Bertha and Crankshaft that are going to let us save a steam counter when we boost during our turn. And then we also have Recharge to help us, have a little bit more consistency with that game plan. And the rest of the deck is just all boost cards. And specifically now we also get to play Supercell with the expansion slot card. This is really powerful and will also help us save those precious steam counters on hyperdriver. Now, in terms of new Armory cards, we actually do have some pretty impactful upgrades, right? So we have to run all Mechanologist equipment specifically for the construct. What this meant before is that you would have to run pretty bad equipment as Maxx. And now you get 3 extra block on your fridge. Pretty strong, especially when you consider that you're also going to be getting in the Mechanoid. Just strictly adding 2 block to your fridge. Pretty powerful when your game plan involves a combo, right? So you're very happy to have those strict upgrades. Fast and Furious is also very good. Sometimes you're going to crank a hyperdriver, but it's more important that this is essentially an extra copy of Big Bertha, of Recharge, Crankshaft, Supercell. This is just going to let you save those tokens so that you can easily get to 3. The rest of the deck is mainly just trying to play on an aggressive curve, so we have Jumpstart and Rev Up, and we're just slamming our opponent until we get the room to play the Mechanoid, and then we just slam them again. Another cool addition is Cerebellum Processor. Now, I understand that this is much better in the dash list. However, what this does is it's a blue item that you can play as early as turn 1, right, if you're going first. More specifically, this is a ponder for, let's say, 2. So just making this into 2 ponder tokens is actually pretty good when you need to find specific cards, right? If you're digging for your Mechanoid, if you're digging for something like Recharge or a Supercell, if there's a piece of your puzzle that you're missing, having more card draw and more ways to look at more of your deck is always a benefit. We have High Octane plus Twin Drive for our fatigue-based matchups. The reason why is it's too much setup to get off in an aggro game, like an aggro mirror where you're already maybe trying to get in your mech. You are playing against a slower deck and you have the room to set up a little bit more. Being able to stack all the way up to 8 action points with Twin Drive and a bunch of cheap boost cards means that you can basically OTK your opponent. We've done a video on the channel way back when this card first dropped a few years ago. And the idea is that you just attack all 8 times in one turn with it, but assembling the combo all at once means you're able to punch the defenses of your opponent and also exploit the fact that they're not doing anything to stop your game plan. If you're able to just throw all 8 hits in one turn, that's very advantageous for you, and it comes at the exploit of a deck that's too slow. You also could consider Maxx Fee if you want to play more into fatigue, or if you want to race aggro decks, you also could include it as more of a power card out needing to rely on the mid-game transformation with Mechanoid. Sometimes the games are too fast, and also it's a good popper into Prism. Now we're finally starting to look into some Mech Tech, right? Now with Dash.io. Spring League is probably the best thing that you have access to if you're not playing Dio. In the mirror, you should be playing TikTok Clock because you always have the ability to find it off the top and play it as a reaction. But into the other Mech heroes, they don't have that kind of luxuries. The best card they have is a 2 for 5 that threatens to either destroy basically on hit an item. You could look at something like Heist, but I think disrupting Dio is more important than generating value for yourself. So if the idea of Heist is that you're going to steal like their processor or a boom grenade or something, that's less impactful if the Dio is going to kill you on the next turn. So what you need to do is, like when they have 6 steam counters, you need to mark this in Arsenal until they have something that you need to clear. So that's either like pistol with 6 steam counters, as this threatens to basically save you 12 health on hit, right? So if you want to do the math on that, that's a 2 for 17 with go again, if it hits, right? The problem is that like you need to disrupt dash, but you need to find the right moment to do it. So pretty good arsenal target for when their gun counters are getting too high or they establish processors and you're worried about them having to power turn and drawing too many cards. It threatens to destroy anything on their field that uses like steam counters, right? So like core, and processor. This is probably the best you're going to get. And then the rest of our sideboard here is just Spell Void and AB. This is a very linear deck. It has a very clear game plan to victory, which makes it pretty nice. You do actually have a lot of game into any of the heroes. I would consider this deck favored into Enigma. You put on a bunch of pressure to clear ward while also having an inevitability with the Mechanoid that just threatens to clear everything and even potentially kill them in one go. You can raise most decks, although I think Aurora will be a little bit harder now. Overall, I think this is perfectly competitive pick. With the introduction of the new Armory deck cards, I think that can perform very well, and I think it's probably worth checking out.